This video, I'm going to actually be doing a coding session. If you do not know, you're about to know that I actually have two blogs. One is on thealmostengineer.com, where I talk about technology and DIY, like home improvement, car repairs, those type of things. The other one I have on GitHub, where I talk about pretty much anything else that is not in those two categories. This coding session will be updating that blog as well as possibly even implementing a couple of new features. Here we go. All right, as you see, I have a coding screen up. So I actually have two things. So the screen over here is the Bootstrap template that I'm going to use to build out my site going forward. On the right here, I have the MkDocs material theme that is already set up here, and it has the variables that are used in the MkDocs static site generator. And so what I want to do is to be able to leverage this to use Bootstrap to build out the new theme for my website. Now, at the time of this writing, Bootstrap 4.5 is the current version. So if you're watching this video years later, it may not be exactly the same for how to do this. So just so you know that, 4.5 is the latest version. All right, and I'm also using the blog example that Bootstrap has available on their website, and you're able to download that code and be able to use it in your particular setup. And all I did was go to Get Bootstrap. Let me drag this window over so you can see. So getbootstrap.com, and you can go to the examples page and then download examples right here, and that will give you a package, I believe is a zip file, and then you just extract the particular example out of that zip file that you want. And all right, so now that we have that, I have created a folder in my project. So this is an MkDocs static site. If you're not familiar with MkDocs, I showed you how I did my other site, thealmostengineer.com, to run on a static website. Go watch that video. I'll put a link here, there, somewhere up here, and also a link down in the description so that you can watch that video. All right. Since I have extracted that template from Bootstrap, I got a index.html file as well as a blog.css file. I'm going to make the necessary adjustments to this index.html file. And in this video, in this particular project, you actually have to rename the file, I believe, to base.html. Let's see. Yes, so it's actually main, So main refers to base, and then go from there. All right, that's there. And I'm also going to create a new CSS file. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I don't want to modify the Bootstrap CSS file. That way, if I want to upgrade, let's say to Bootstrap 4.6, all I gotta do is copy and paste that file in, and the other CSS changes that I put in will not be affected. All right, now that I have that, I need to copy this file name and put it in here. I also need to update the existing CSS file name that's in here as well. And so we're going to start with the base directory, and Visual Studio Code is not intelligent about this because of the fact the project is not necessarily exactly designed in like a coding manner, if you will. So it's kind of slightly confused about it. All right, so if I do this way, I believe that is correct. If not, we'll find out once we start building things out. All right, so starting from the top, I got my style sheet in, which is good. I can actually take that out because I know that's a style sheet. You don't have to tell me that twice. The author. So start from the top, viewport description. So I want the description to contain this variable here. So I'm copying it from the template in the MkDocs and putting it over. And then I want this whole if condition. So if it does not have any metadata, which some of my posts are rather outdated and old, excuse me, not outdated. Some of the posts are old, so they don't necessarily have the descriptions that they should have. So I want those to have that information in there. Next, we want to do the author. So I'm just going to copy this if condition here and replace that. And we're going to put this on the next line. And I'm going to do, let's do, oops, wrong shortcut. Format document. There we go. All right, so we have that, and I want to remove the, well, I guess the generator could stay in there, give it credit. But I could remove the generator if I wanted to. All right, we're coming down to the title block, and I'm just going to replace what's here for title. The canonical URL, does it have one of those in here? Yes. So I'm going to take this. I'm not sure if I need that redirect, but we'll just go ahead and copy it as is and drop that in there too. And put a little bit more space in here in between each of these if conditions so it could be a little bit more readable as we're going through the process right now. Once we get done, come back and clean it up, try to reduce the amount of white space in here as well. All right. Oh, I actually did not need to modify this line. I just realized this is the CSS that it's referring to. That is the Bootstrap one. So let me go back to the archive file that I had, and we're going to open this with the text editor and copy that line back out. Here we go. And I'm going to paste that back in. That is also not correct. Need to find the right URL for the Bootstrap CSS. So let's see if we can see if it's in here. It may not be in here. Archive. We go back. Static, jumbo font, assets. Here we go. Dist, CSS, and JS. So we need to extract those to the appropriate location in our theme. So these are the CSS and Java files that are needed for Bootstrap in particular. So come back over here and refresh. And so we have the CSS and JS directories. There we go. All right, so the blog and the Almost Engineer CSS, I'm gonna move them into the CSS directories to better group that content. And now we can close this sidebar. And we need to update the paths. So CSS, that's correct. So we'll do /CSS there. And now that we have this correct, I can actually put that the way it was. So I forgot was missing that. And let's see. So Google Font APIs, that's fine. And this may need to be changed depending on how your URLs or website is set up. If your website is in a folder on that domain, then you may have to change this accordingly. But either way, it needs to map to that particular file location. All right, now that we have this kind of set up, we can do a MkDocs build, MkDocs serve, and that will build this site and host it locally while we do the remainder of the changes. If you get any warnings, which I have some here, they're just referring to files or URLs that are not valid, so there's no cause for alarm there. I'm gonna go ahead and open the browser and make it go to our development site. And here we go. So it's still using the existing theme, which it should be. And to change that, we need to open the MkDocs.yaml file. And that opened over there. Okay, so we can minimize this terminal for the time being. All right, so the custom directory needs to point to the blog almost ENGR. And let's see. The remainder of this, I do believe I need to go ahead and take out for the time being. And so if we come back down here, it should reload, which it did. And we go back to the browser, it's already reloaded. And so we have a working website with the Bootstrap theme that was put in place. All right, the next thing to do is, now that we have that in place, we got to go back to the template so we can minimize this terminal window. All right, continuing down the page, we have a container, we have a subscribe button that doesn't point to anywhere, have a large header logo. So what I want this to point to is to the site name. So we're just going to copy this from over here and paste that there. Let's see, what else do we have on the site? We can close that window as well as this text editor. And need to sign up. So I don't have a sign up. Take that out. I'm not going to implement search right away, but I will in the future. So what I'm going to do is to actually comment that search button out for the moment and save. So if we come back and once it refreshes, detects the changes, then it'll reload, and or at least it should reload unless I have a typo somewhere, which it appears that I do. Go back to the terminal. It is just not refreshed. Let's see. Okay, not what I was expecting. Not right. Okay, something's off. Save. Why? Subscribe button is there. Okay, not sure what else is happening. All right, so let's, all right, restart that instance. There we go. All right, so it looks like it was still, because the previous configuration still pointed to the old theme, that it didn't take note to which files to start monitoring again. So that has been corrected now. And the next thing is this nav scroller bar here with all the categories. For now, I'm gonna comment that out. All right, that is done. So now this section is empty. Cool. All right, the feature post and the feature title, I don't know if I want to use those right away. I'm going to comment those out as well, which is these two blocks right here. And I know what you're thinking, well, why not just remove them entirely? Because you're using version control. And while that is true, sometimes it's easier just to comment things out as you're making these edits and then go back later on and implement the previous version of whatever it was that you were trying to do. And so that's why I'm commenting it out for the time being. Now, I see that there is a sidebar over here for elsewhere. I'm going to go ahead and fill in these URLs. I'm going to remove Facebook because I only use Facebook for private things. So for my GitHub, github.com/almostengr, And I want links. Ideally, external links always should show up in a new window. I know for some sites they don't do that, but on the sites that I build, I make it a habit that if that link is not pointing to that website, you know, for instance, if you're on GitHub and the link is taking you to Twitter, then you need to open it in a new window. And that's just a standard that I've learned from a while ago, and I continue to do for the time being. I don't need a div. I don't know where it got that from. All right, so I've put in GitHub, Instagram, and Twitter. I think I do have a couple of other links in there. And so by me using the target underscore blank, it automatically, just when I click it, it opens in a new window, and you can see that site there. All right, and I think that actually should be www. All right, that is good to go. The archives, that's going to take a little bit of effort to get working, if I can get it working. So I'm going to comment that block out. I may use it again in the future. And let's see the about. So the about is on the right side over here. So I'm going to put some information in here about myself. And I'm going to come back at a later point and actually, you know, better clean it up. Obviously, that is not really a text that I'm going to stick with, but I do need to have something here. So there's that. The next part, I wanted featured content. I could drop that here. And what I might actually do is put this in the configuration. That way I don't have to come back in and edit this theme. Another way is I may be able to use the most recent post and put that here, and then make this a list of probably my last 10 posts, and then put a block over here that will take you to another page that lists everything, instead of putting all that and trying to use logic to determine dates and so forth to calculate them and create additional pages. Let's see, so where we're at. All right, so we want to work on the main body content of the page. And so it says from the fire hose, which is right here. I'm not a firefighter, so I'm not going to stick with the whole firefighter thing. So we're going to comment that out. Nope. Let's try that again. I don't know what I hit. Make that looks like the wrong shortcut. All right, we're going to comment that line out and going to replicate this blog post. And to do that, I actually can pull up the code that I used on the Almost Engineer website to be able to list all of the content that is considered to be a blog post. And that is in the, I believe it's there and or there. I think it's actually blog list. Okay, so let's drag this over here to the right. We'll let that back down. And what I did was, so in this particular situation, so we're going to do a for nav, we'll copy these first two, move that out of the way. All right, and looks like for each one that is doing, it is set up to have a div. So I'm just going to kind of mimic that. That way I don't have to, hopefully don't have to tweak too hard to figure out how to get the Bootstrap to do what it's doing. Blog posts. All right, and that's the end div for that. So if we do format, just to make sure everything is still in alignment. Looks like it was a little bit off, which is not a big deal. Here we have an H2 title. So I also want to put an if condition in here for if we are on the page that is called blog, or is, yes, that is called blog, then you post the list of blog posts And how do I go about doing that? Let's see. All right, so we put that there, and we also need another end if for that. All right, so that will post the, no, I'm mistaken. Okay, so that actually needs to come out. All right, so you have an if condition that if displaying blog post, then you'll show this div here. And what I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna copy this h2, and then we're going to do, I believe is content. No, here we go. We actually need to do a check of the page. So page.title, I believe it is the name of that variable, and close out that h2. And then it has the paragraph class of blog post meta, and we're going to do all right, so I'm going to have to put some if conditions in here, because if that data does not exist, we don't want it to show bad or just placeholder text or just empty text even. And, you know, because it would be bad if there's no date here. So like here it has the date by the author, and if the post does not have a date in it, you don't want to show a blank by author from in here. Granted, it wouldn't be as bad, because if it said by and then the name of the author, I guess that would still be appropriate by being directly under the title of the post. All right, continuing on. I want to do nav item. Do I want to do, I don't want to do nav item here. So I'm listing the content of the page. So page.meta.posted, which will be the posted date of the article. Then if that value is provided, then I want to display said value. So page.meta.posted. And if you're using different metadata values on your page, you can just change that to whatever it is. So if you use created instead of posted, you will put that there. And just to kind of give a little bit more context before I get too far into this, the metadata is, so let me pull up a post. So the metadata, when you're writing documents in MkDocs, the metadata is what goes at the top of the file, and you open it and close it with the 3 dashes. And with these 3 dashes, see if I can get it to zoom in. All right, and so here you can change these to whatever you want to, and then reference them in your particular part of the application. So you just have to do page.meta.whatever the value, and it will show in that particular part. All right, so if that is there, then I want to post that, and then do by, and then I want to, well, wait. So if I don't have an author name in the post, I don't want to post that part. So if I do, then I want to put by, and then I'm going to change this to author, and then it's page, not post, page.meta.author goes there. Oops. All right, and that should accomplish this line right here. It has a link there for the author's page. I guess I could put a link there with this, and we have a so page.author and page.meta author link, I guess is what I can call that variable. And then if author link is provided, then we can do, if both of those are provided, I don't know. Well, yeah, I guess it would make more sense. So, okay, so for the time being, I'm not going to include an author link. I guess I could at some point put in a link to that author's that author's Twitter page, so that they are able to find out more information about that. So let me do that. So and if page.meta.author link. So if both values are provided, then do the anchor, so href, and we're going to do page.meta.author link. Target is to blank, and then I'm going to put the anchor at the end. All right, and then we're going to do an end if because we need that there. But then also going to, so if you have both values, then you show that. If you have only one values, and I think this needs to be L if, and then we'll close that out. So we're going to do the same thing, but without the link on it. And of course, if you don't have anything, then you don't show anything. And that would address the blog post meta for date and time. You could do additional conditions in here. I actually think I'm going to do that with maybe categories if it's not already specified down further on the page. I don't believe it is. Let me pull up the template right quick. And so looking at the template, they don't have keywords in there, so I could put keywords in here in this blog post meta block of the page. All right, so I'm going to save that and then need to check the URL of the page to see what if this actually is a blog page, I believe. So going back to the template that I used on the Almost Engineer, I actually need to go back to the theme and then in the base. Is that correct? I believe it's in the base. Yes. So in the base, I have a condition that checks to see if the page title, so if the URL has blog in the title and we're not on the blog listing page, then we want to show this particular div. So I'm going to put that same thing here, paste it, and change this to if so that it does not blow up. Let's check our terminal window to make sure. All right, so we have a typo on line 174. This is reporting 174. Yes. All right, that makes sense. Save. All right, nav item is undefined, which makes sense. So let's move this here and move that there for the time being, trying to get it to build to make sure everything is still working. All right, so it did build successfully. Refresh the page, make sure everything still looks okay, and it does. And what I'm gonna have to do is to move some of this content around on the site. The structure of the website will also have to change as well, given that I am implementing some features in here in this template, and so this will leverage that. As you see, if I collapse this, as you see right now, I don't have a blog folder. Well, I do have a blog folder, but it doesn't have anything in it. Right now, all the content is in folders by category, and this could still be done the same way. I would just have to put in this code here how to handle that by category, and I may actually do that. So it's not checking one large folder, it's checking several smaller folders. All right, that being said, so we have a post here. Next, we need to change. So we have the content. That's another article with content. There's another article. So all of these are templates, not templated. Templates for there. So for the time being, I'm gonna comment only one of these out. So I need to remove that so that the shortcut will work. All right. And I'm not going to use the older and new, so I'm just comment those out for now. Eventually probably remove those entirely. And then these additional posts that are in here that are part of the template, they will disappear like that. And here is a block. Okay, I don't need to show that block. come back to here. Everything looks good. All right. Next, I want to list the most recent blog posts. And to do that, I guess I can do it by category. And so blogging nav URL. All right, so to do the most recent blog post, I'm going to do, so I'm going to start off with one of the categories. So I'm going to do, which one do I have the most stuff in? All right, so lifestyle. So what I'm actually have to do is move this content, come to think of it, into their parent folder, and also move this to its parent folder. And as you see, I have the dates listed as part of the file name. That way I can sort the files by the name of the, excuse me, that way I can sort the post by the name of the file. And you don't actually have to look at each individual item and then sort it that way. So that makes things a little bit easier. All right, so I use the lifestyle. I move the items in lifestyle. And if page title is not equal to blog, then that is not the right set of code that I should be changing. Hold on. Yes, okay, so that is right. So if lifestyle is in the page URL and the title page is not blog, then show that blog post. Good. All right, now up here, we want to kind of do almost the similar thing in nature. So if lifestyle in nav URL and nav item children. So let's go back to the blog list to see how I did this. So for nav item and nav item, that's not right. Okay, nav item, wait. All right, so for nav item, we want to get the children. All right, okay. All right, so now that we have the children in that list, and we'll do format this right quick. All right, so we got the outer loop. All right, we're going to indent that. And then we want to copy in from my existing files. We want to do that in reverse. And if you want to see the code for this template that I'm building, you can go to my GitHub repository, github.com/almostengr, and you will look into the almostengr.github.io repository, and you will see this template. If you want to see the template that I use for the almostengineer.com, you would just go to the almostengr website repository, and the template will be available there as well. All right, so we want to get the nav items and loop through each one of them, and we want to go through each of the children of those, and then for each of the navigation items in the navigation item.children, we want to sort them in reverse. And then we want to, let's just do, let's print the title just to make sure that this is working the way it should be. So we're going to say correct and save that. Make sure we haven't done a typo, and we do have a typo. No item meta attributes. I'm not sure what. 176. Okay, so the nav item. That is interesting. So nav, that can't be nav item. Wow, okay. So nav child. All right, so we do nav child, nav child, nav child. See if that will compile. Still does not compile. Okay, where do we have an issue at? So take out the code to see where the issue exists. All right, so apparently the issue is with the this condition here, which is not liking too much. All right, so we'll do that for now, and I'll have to come back in the next video to discuss that a little bit more. All right, so we're going to go back, and here we have it. So we have each of the blog posts that is in the child directories, which is actually pulling all of the blog posts. Okay, so let me put a line break in here just so we can read that a little bit better. All right, and there we have it. So we have, so these are the content items from the lifestyle directory, and this one is probably from the garden, and this one is probably from the other directory that I have underneath this one. So that does make sense, and we just have to correct it. So I'm gonna do more corrections and another coding, part 2 of this coding session in the next video. If you have any questions about what was done in this video, drop those down in the comment section below. I'll be sure to answer your question. If you're wondering, yes, I do read the comments. I do respond to the comments. Ask your question, I give you an answer. So until the next video, peace out. Again, the code is available. Check it out. Links will be down in the description below.